Well, and I think that's everyone, almost everyone joining us now. So thank you so much for joining us for this event with Andrew Cotter. It's lovely to see so many people joining us from all across the world, it seems. My name is Lindsay. I am from Village Books, and you'll see Cheryl here from Chorleywood Bookshop, who is kindly co-hosting the event with us. And we're so delighted to be welcoming Andrew Cotter to this event. He'll be talking with journalist Sarah Crompton. Many of you will know Andrew from his career as a sports broadcaster. He's one of the leading commentators on BBC's golf, rugby, tennis and athletics. However, over lockdown, with everything shutting down, he turned his hand to commentating about his two Labradors, Olive and Mabel. And if you've never seen Game of Bones on social media, I suggest you, after this event, you log on to Andrew's social medias, type in Game of Bones and have a look at all the amazing videos. It's just an amazing, just a thing of pleasure, his social media account. The videos have been viewed more than 60 million times and entertained dog owners, sports fans, and a host of celebrities across the world, including Ryan Reynolds. I mean, what do we say about that? He'll be chatting to Sarah Crompton, who is a very well-respected journalist. She writes about dance for The Observer, theatre for What's on Stage, and everything and anything for the Sunday Times and Vogue. She used to be a sports columnist and art editor-in-chief for The Telegraph. She also has a Jack Russell, who you can see there, called Puzzle, who is 17. Sadly, Puzzle isn't as famous as Olive yet, as Mabel yet, but it won't be too long, I'm sure. So please don't forget to put your questions in the Q&A bit of Zoom, and there'll be a bit of time at the end to for me to put these questions to Andrew. But in the meantime, I will welcome Andrew and Sarah to the Zoom stage.
What? Hello. What? Oh God. Right. Sorry. Honestly, they've been drilling away, waiting for. Look. Oh God. Yeah, hello, everyone. That sounds. When I say that, it sounds like that's Mabel saying it. Hello, everyone. I'm Mabel, sitting on the sofa, and Olive is here as well. Olive. I'm just move my laptop around a bit. Olive. She disappears into the shadows. So yeah, I've gone early on my biscuit use. So yeah. I've got one biscuit left, which I'm gonna have to break into two and use that later in the event. But they're both looking rather shocked, as Labradors sometimes do. What are you shocked about? Anyway, sorry. Hello, everyone. Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well. I'm also about to lose my dog, who is now sort of sliding down the throne that I built him. We've run out of biscuits, so he will just at some point just vanish, I think, from the background. But it seemed appropriate to have him with us because obviously, Andrew, you have made Olive and Mabel stars this year, and they are now the subjects of this fine book, which I will publicise so you don't need to. Oh. You started to film them in lockdown. And I wondered...
Sorry, do you know that man that's just stolen your dog there? Because that's outrageous. Someone should do something.
He's allowed. So I wondered what made you start doing the films. I mean, really, I think most people will have seen your films. When did they start and why?
Well, yeah, I mean, they started, again, sort of... It's quite documented in the book, in that it was a very strange time. It was a very strange time for all of us. But back in March the 13th, Friday the 13th, rather aptly, it was. I think we knew that sporting events were going to disappear. We just didn't know how many and for how long they were going to disappear. But on that day, I was getting ready to go down to Cardiff to do the final weekend of the Six Nations. It was, in fact, the only game that was remaining was Wales against Scotland. And just as I was getting into the car, and it really was just as I was getting into the car, the editor texted and said, look, the game's off, so don't bother. And just a couple of minutes later, we got an email coming in from Augusta that the Masters had gone. And I think that day the London Marathon went as well, or around about that time, and the boat race and the Olympics and Wimbledon, the Open Championship. So everything went. And so suddenly you're going, well, I have nothing to do. I am, sorry, she's squeaking already. Don't worry, I'll take it away from her. I could tell this story as you just look at her slightly gormless face there. And so everything disappeared. Sorry, you are slightly gormless. I don't mean it in any unpleasant way. It's just a fact, isn't it? So everything disappeared, and then I was left saying, right, well, what does a sports broadcaster do? So it was just having a laugh, poking fun at myself in the situation. and saying, look, this is how strange this situation is, that I have absolutely nothing to do, so I'm going to commentate on my dogs. But I didn't expect it to go, obviously, the way it went, and you have no idea that something's going to go viral, but I knew within minutes, it was probably quicker than that, you knew how quickly it was becoming quite a big deal, because of the distance it was spreading as well. And you could see suddenly you're getting a reaction from the United States or from South Africa or Australia, and the numbers just kept going up and up and up, and it was very strange. But the strangeness kept on going, mostly because I kept on making the videos. But I felt.
So which was the first one that you made? Because the first
Sorry,
one
yes,
I saw was Game of Bones, but that
no,
was
well, yeah, because that one there as well, I think the Game of Bones went even bigger than the first one. But then the first one was, 12 million have seen it all told now, so it went pretty big. And then it was, then you just think, well, this has been, good fun, and I've had a bit of a laugh here, and something's gone viral, and you get, like you say, Ryan Reynolds or whoever it might be. Although Ryan Reynolds has just bought Wrexham Football Club, so he'll do anything for the British. He's just, I don't know, he's just obsessed with us. So it was, so then it was, I just thought that would be it. But then people kept saying, right, okay, I want another, where's the next video? And then I didn't have any work. So I had at that time a bit of time on my hands. Time has since disappeared completely, and I've had not a single moment to pause over the last 9 months. But at that time, I did still have nothing, and so I made another video. It was just something that presented itself as well, because I was watching them as I sat on the sofa, and I was just watching. The first one was planned because I thought, right, I'll put down their bowls and I'll start commentating on them. Whereas the second one, it just unfolded in front of me, that Olive had the bone. Mabel wants the bone. Mabel always gets the toy in the end. And I thought, right, okay, this looks as if it could be quite good as well. And it was just very lucky in the way that it played out, because Olive almost, I was on cue. She just looked to the camera at the end with all the sadness that she can muster. And it was a thing of beauty. It was everything a sports commentator wants, to see that drama and that timing. And so, and again, that just went from there.
How do you do them? Do you do the commentary while you're filming them, or do you film it and then add the commentary afterwards?
I don't want to, it's like the magic circle. You never want to give away your secrets. So the first two, in fact, the first three were done pretty much as you see them. Although I did have another go at a bit of one of them, but they were done. They were all done in one take, those three. But the first one was done live, and then I listened to a bit of it, and I thought I can actually do that little bit a little bit better. So there was a tweak to one of them. But then, of course, what happens after that, and after the third one, which was Mabel just standing in a pond doing bugger all, I thought, I don't want to be, because I was getting so many offers at that time. After that, the first three, I was getting so many offers to do, could you commentate on various things? And I did one thing. I commentated on the penguins for Phillip Island for Visit Victoria, a tourism body in Australia, because that was quite well done, and it was a good offer. Not financially, it was a good offer, but it was a nice offer, and it was the way they approached me, and penguins are funny, so I did that. But at the same time, all these offers were coming in for just utter nonsense, commentating on hire cars being cleaned, and commentating on online shopping, and commentating on someone doing DIY, and commentating on yogurt having a race, and pizzas being made, and all this was for ads as well, which I didn't want to be seen as the joke commentator, because I do have to go back and do proper sports broadcasting, so you can't forever be seen as the joke commentator. I think probably that horse has bolted anyway, and I would probably commentate on the horse bolting, but I didn't want to be seen as the guy who's just the parody commentator. So that's why then you go and do the Zoom meeting, and you move it into little sketches like online dating, or Halloween, or whatever it might be. And I think or making a little documentary, which was probably still my favourite of all of them, because it took so long to make. And I realized I'd really sort of gone a bit mad when I was making this mini documentary that lasted about 4.5 minutes, and getting them mic'd up and putting little umbrellas in the drinks. But I enjoyed all of it. But it was strange as well, Sarah, because, and again, in this year that's been so difficult for so many people, I don't want to, say that, the stress of it. But it's you feel very out on a limb and exposed when you have these videos that are a great success, because everyone is suddenly talking at you and shouting at you and asking for things. And that's a nice position to be in. But it's also when people are even saying nice things to you, and I can't quite cope with all that emotion coming in, whether it's good or bad. So, yeah, but you can't shut it off, because you become a little bit of a slave to this device that you've got and you've made videos on, you're watching it, and you become entranced by the numbers. And so you just want a little bit of peace and quiet, but you've done it to yourself. So, and then it just, you feel about the success of it as well, that you want to keep it going. And you also see that it is cheering people up, which is really, it's genuinely important. I do it to make myself laugh and enjoy making it, but I do genuinely do it to make other people laugh.
Do you think it changed your relationship with the dogs? I mean, that you suddenly started to look at them as material rather than as dogs.
And that was the genuine concern, that because there was a time when I was feeling such pressure to deliver another video, and it was all about contests and sporting contests, and I was contriving these contests, and I was, I would do it when my partner, thought this is just madness. So I would do it when she went out for a walk, or went to, when she went out for a drive, or went to the shops, or whatever it was. I'd suddenly line up all this food and get this stuff there. Right, you go there, all of them, Mabel, right, and go. And I'd be filming it. And then I'd go, no, that doesn't work. You're supposed to, at the end, you're supposed to look to the camera again. And then I'm thinking, what am I doing? This is madness. So I very quickly nipped that in the bud. And so I don't want to be getting frustrated with my dogs for just being dogs. I want them to be dogs. That's one of the reasons I've never dressed them up and never would, do that. That's not, the humor that I'm looking for. I want to have dogs just naturally being dogs, and me projecting human ideas and situations onto them, but they are comfortable and happy doing what they're doing.
Have you, the book fills in some of the background. Have you always been a dog person? Have you always wanted to have dogs?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I don't know whether that is nature or nurture, whether that you are made into a dog person by having dogs early on. I think a lot of how you view dogs in terms of being comfortable around them is because you've been around them for a long time, since a young child. But I don't know whether that means you love dogs dearly. I mean, both my brothers, one of them is very fond of dogs. I don't know why he sort of tolerates them, but he doesn't mind them at all. Hello, Olive. Hello, Mabel. How are you? But he won't roll on the floor with them like I would. So, and we've both had the same exposure to dogs from a very young age. So, I've just always loved dogs. But it's not just dogs. I've always loved animals, and dogs certainly are the most readily accessible, and I suppose the most comfortable and clownish and comedic, and they're the best companions of the animal world. That's why. I could have a pheasant or something wandering around inside the house, but it wouldn't be quite as soothing as having a Labrador sitting on my
Why
chest.
did you choose Labradors? I've always been slightly suspicious of Labradors.
Have you? Why? You can't be suspicious of them. I'm suspicious of cats and things like that, but you can't be suspicious of that. Look at that. You couldn't in any way be suspicious of this. No, because they're not. Labradors are. Why? I've got to turn the tables here and become interviewer. Why are you suspicious of Labradors?
Because in towny Labradors, there are a lot of kind of slightly overweight, slightly sort of lolloping dogs who eat everything that is anywhere in the house, including.
Yeah, I get that because I'm suspicious of their enormous appetite. I said, what are you up to? Why do you want to eat so much? But again, it's explained in the book. But Labradors, so these two are from working lines. They're quite slim Labradors. I'm not a massive fan of big chunky Labradors either. That's for the way, again, it's something I'm not comfortable with, really, the way we breed dogs to make them certain shapes just for our own entertainment or for whatever we think they should be broad-chested, or they want them with a large square face. So that's not the correct terminology, but no, I want dogs to be able to do dog things, running healthily or swimming or whatever it might be, or climbing mountains. And obviously not all dog breeds can do that, but Labradors, if you let Labradors eat what they want to eat, then that's just an end. It'll be like who was the giant ball in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Was that Violet Beauregard? I can never remember which one's which.
Yeah, I think
Became a
it's
giant.
Violet, yeah.
So a giant ball with little arms sticking, little paws sticking out, and just waving around. So that's every Labrador is that kind of dog trying to escape. But you've got just got to be strict with them, unless you're doing a Zoom meeting, in which case just feed them biscuits.
Feed them constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it seems to work. I mean, the revelation of the book for me, I mean, I knew you as a sports commentator, which we'll come on to, and I knew you as somebody who had made films about your dogs. I didn't know you as a sort of mountaineer, and that's the other sort of theme of the book, isn't it? Of the pleasure of walking with your dogs in the mountains. I mean, did you always have that in mind when you got Labradors?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the dog has to be able to come up. The dog, which is Olive, the first dog, has to be able to come up into the mountains with me, because it's such a big part of my life. I mean, I live in Cheshire, so it's difficult to get to, because there's always the Scottish mountains I'd want to go to ideally. I mean, I can get to North Wales quite quickly, but no, I always want to be up in the Scottish mountains as often as possible, and it's not quite as often as I would like. But yes, absolutely, it was a prerequisite that we had to have a dog that would be able to gallop around in the mountains, and they love it, and it's always in the snow, really, if possible. So that's a big part of my life with my dogs.
So one of the questions people always ask is, are dogs all right in the snow? I mean, doing those extended sort of walks in snow. I mean, and you go into that. I mean, they are, but why are they?
Why are they so good at why are they so suited to it? Well, it's interesting. I mean, another breed of dog which I love is a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. You know, again, they're sort of abused by people, or their use or their image is abused by people because they don't quite understand that they are very, very strong terriers, but also that they shouldn't be bought for any sort of reasons of tough guy image. They're lovely dogs. They're just the most caring dogs. But so I kind of I've always hankered after a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, but they couldn't go into the mountains. They could physically, absolutely, but they have very, very thin coats. I do chuckle sometimes when I see the amount of dogs in coats, which perhaps they're only for reasons of cleanliness in winter and mud, and it's just easier to keep them clean. Just strip them off, put the coat in the wash rather than spend it just drying them. But if anybody thinks that dogs, unless they are really, really old dogs or really young dogs, or perhaps incredibly skinny dogs like whippets or greyhounds, they might need a coat in the winter. But all other dogs have great coats, and Labradors have the best coats of all, just about, because they have this wonderful two-coat system. Where this is how boring this chat is from me. Look at that. So anyway, so they're ideally designed for going out in the snow and the cold, and it would have to be very, very cold for me to bring out the coats for them, which I do have and I do use because it does get very, very cold.
And their feet are all right, because that's
webbed feet. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize until a few years ago that almost all dogs have webbed paws. But Labradors have very webby paws, which makes them good swimmers. I'm doing a swimming action, just in case any of you didn't know what swimming was for some reason. But also it prevents one thing that dogs do suffer with, and I've seen quite a few Cocker Spaniels have this problem in the snow, and then you get the horrible balling of the snow on the paws, which can become very painful. It becomes extreme. Labradors don't get it at all, or these two don't. I've never seen it. I think different types of snow as well, if it's very wet snow. But even then, I've been out in very, very wet snow conditions, and these two don't get any balling you don't get any balling of the snow on your paws, do you, when you're up in the mountains? No. You're a thoughtful face. I'd like to say it's a thoughtful face. It's actually just a vacant face. So the webbing helps for some reason break up or resist the balling of the snow.
And have you ever been sort of frightened in the mountains? Are there moments where you think, "Ooh, I wish I hadn't done this"? Or are
no? Oh yes. Oh yeah. No. Definitely a moment, but not with the dogs. I wouldn't get myself in. So I do occasional climbing where you're in a position of exposure and you're looking around and you have to control your breathing because you're getting a little bit but that's part of why you do it, and you do feel very afraid, but as long as you're taking all the correct precautions and measures, that's part of the thrill of it. But with the dogs, when I realize that I'm responsible for them, it's a totally different feeling when I'm climbing with the dogs. So I don't always go climbing. I go, so again, I've done swimming and climbing. What's next? So when I'm hill walking with the dogs, I have this total feeling of wanting to protect them and take care of them and make sure they're okay. So I'm constantly checking in with them. And they're fine, they're absolutely fine. Mabel protests quite a lot, but she's protesting because she just hasn't got a clue what's going on. She's not protesting because she's too cold. Olive trots along quite happily. But it's amazing. You feel, right, I am responsible for these creatures. So you're just making sure that they're okay all the time. And it's a very, I don't know, a very sort of, but I don't have children. It's a very sort of, must be what a very paternal feeling is like. I just want to make sure that they're okay and they're happy.
How do you distinguish between their characters? I mean, do they have distinct characters? I mean, they do.
I'm going to have to break out the other biscuit early on because I want them to come over and actually be involved a little bit more as I talk about their characters. So, God, hang on a second. Right, so you can take that. Whoa, I didn't see. Yeah, right, okay. So Olive first, always. You take that. Yeah, into the microphone. Okay, you take that. That's a car. So their characters are... Olive is a little bit more aloof than Mabel. Mabel doesn't know what aloof is. She just wants affection all the time. I don't. Anyway, that was... whereas Olive is a little bit more, oh, I can take care. But then Olive, you think that Olive can take care of herself and she wants her own company, which she does at the time. But then she'll forget herself and she'll have a mad puppyish moment. Whereas the mad puppyish moment for Mabel has been 4 years, pretty much. So... yeah, so she is forever young. She's nearly 4. She'll be 4 on Sunday. Yeah, 4 on Sunday, Mabel. And she's just, I can see her, when she's 12 being a slightly cretinous puppy as well. So
you said before we came on air that people think that you prefer Mabel. And certainly in the book, there's a lot about Mabel and less about Olive. But is that just because?
No, it's absolute. I mean, I can understand why people think that because you'll see maybe more giant snoot shots of Mabel because people love a pink nose on a Labrador, and she does have a quite an endearing face. Olive to me does as well, but I think Mabel has a bit of star quality in that she's a bit of a clown and she looks slightly clownish, whereas Olive's a beautiful dog, but Olive is. I said, Olive is the love of my life. She is just, and again, I see a lot of me in her, and again, perhaps I'm projecting a bit too much of our human qualities onto Olive, but I don't want to say she does what she wants, and that's me. I don't want to say that at all. That sounds terrible, but she has moments of silliness, but she has moments of just going, for goodness sake, could you just all just leave me alone, and I want to be left alone in the room here, and that's probably me. So when I did my early walks in the hills with Olive, honestly, the connection I felt with her, again, perhaps I'm reading a little bit too much into it. Look at Mabel just staring as I talk about Olive and my love for her. So, what's going on in this little dome? Not very much. I love them both. I really do love them both equally. And it's like when you're asked, I can imagine again, it's what it must be like when people say, who's your favorite child? And you say, well, the one who's going to earn more money, of course. But I don't, I couldn't choose my favorite child. And I couldn't choose my favorite of these two at all. I love the fact that they're so very different. I think that's the main thing.
And it's very touching in the book, I think, that you talk about their relationship and about how because I think a lot of people who think about having 2 dogs worry whether they will get along, and you talk about the way in which they do all the time. Have this kind of very nice relationship. And
and of course they didn't initially. Well, no, actually, when I say initially, it was really just for the first day, maybe 2, where all of us thinking, what's this? What madness is this? I don't want to, because she had her own company for 4 years, and she was our dog, and she had this place to herself, and then suddenly this other creature comes in, and I'm going to have to go and get some more biscuits in a minute. There's no doubt about it, because Olive has now heard some noise from the other side of the door, and she thinks that it's time to go and stand in the kitchen, which she does for about an hour, just standing in the kitchen, hoping that she might get something. So Olive, I mean, Mabel worships Olive, and Olive tolerates. No, she doesn't. She really does. She really does like Mabel. They love each other's company. They play all the time. So whereas initially I think Olive was a little bit reticent about the whole thing, sometimes I batter my microphone. But I haven't got anything for you. I'm just talking about you. So, but yeah, they are. I was going to say the best friends. They're best friends. I don't think they're best friends, but they do get on very famously. Mabel's now just given up. Look.
Oh. Excuse me. Switching to you. When did you realize that you were going to have a career in sports broadcasting? And you know, particularly, you do have an incredibly distinctive voice, which is part of the pleasure of the videos is how you commentate. And to those of us who follow sport, it's also, you know, part of the pleasure of hearing you. How did that whole career come about?
Is this an awkward shot, by the way? Because I think people want to see Mabel, but hang on a second. Let me just. There we go. Is that so? Actually, is my name in the way there now? I don't know. No, if I'm talking, I'm on a little thumbnail there. I realize that people are here to see the dogs, pretty much. So, what's that? See, this is the thing. Sorry, before I talk about this, is the thing. You can do anything to a Labrador. Look, just twirl her ears around like that, and she's falling asleep as I do it. So, sorry, Olive. Olive again is looking at me with utter contempt. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was younger. I had no grand plan to get into sports broadcasting or broadcasting. Again, my degree, and then I went to university without any idea what I wanted to do. You know, I did a degree in French and philosophy, which qualifies you for bugger all. And again, it was just done to, I don't know, at that age, you just do it to look pretentious. And you know, you don't do it to look pretentious, but you certainly come across as pretentious as you try to appear deep and meaningful. So then I enjoyed university, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I graduated after about a year working as a waiter, I thought, right, I should get my act together. And I knew I wanted to do something with language. Now it's just a lower half of my head talking. I wanted to do something with language. Because I always had a love of language and words. And doesn't sound like it as I say that sentence. I always loved words and stuff. But I wanted to do something that I think use that. And then you sort of find yourself being steered towards journalism and the media. And I ended up applying for a couple of jobs. One was DC Thomson in Dundee Publishers, and one with a radio station called Scott FM, and got offered the jobs, and then took the broadcasting route, and that was it really. I had a love of sport. There's no doubt about that. I think a lot of people do when they're younger as well, a real passion for sport, and so it just developed from there. But like a lot of people, you kind of fall into a job and you think, oh, I might enjoy this. But then after a while, you realize I really do enjoy this, and that I might have an aptitude for it. And it just kept on going. And then suddenly you find that, 20 years have passed, and where did that time go? But I enjoy the job enormously.
There's a picture of you in the book with John McEnroe. I mean,
he's a terrifying man.
Alongside him. Yeah, what's he like to work along?
Well, he's probably the one, co-commentators, work with various in different sports, and he would be the one who scares me most. So I've never been someone who gets starstruck for a start if somebody's coming in, and even if it's someone like McEnroe, or Boris Becker, who you watched, when you were not growing up, but watched for many years. I suppose I was growing up when we first went in '85. I would be 12 years old, and suddenly you're working alongside them. But I've never really been the kind of person who goes, "Oh my goodness me, it's this person here." They're just people. But John McEnroe is quite intimidating because he is so dominant, and he's kind of the way in the commentary box that he was on the court. He is short. Physically short, and he's curt, and he is to the point, and he's abrupt, but he's very, very bright. He's very, very sharp. He's a brilliant analyst. So you're thinking all the time, I just don't want to upset this guy because he knows everything. And by comparison, I know so little about tennis compared to him. So what I'm there for is to find nice punctuation to the match, come up with a nice turn of phrase, and then just steer him in the right direction. That's what you do with most co-commentators. I think I would let him, I'm supposed to be the lead commentator alongside the co-commentator. I think with him, I let him almost co-lead because he is, such an alpha male in the box. So, and it's just, I just try not to get in his way, basically.
What what would you say has been your highlight? I mean, you've done Olympic Games, you've done Rugby World Cups, you've covered immense amounts of things. What would be a highlight for you?
Well, I've just worked out if I push that back, I can probably get dog and head in. There we go. That's amazing. Well done, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and again, it's sort of humble brag to reel them off, and you sound like a bit of a tool. But there have been so many that I've enjoyed doing. You know, working alongside Peter Alice was one of the greatest thrills, and it was so sad to see him go at the weekend, because we just worked together last month on the Masters, and he was just brilliant at his very best, and you know, he was superb because of his timing and his humor and the light and shade that he offered. But he was just wonderful to work with. And then and when you get to do things like that and work on the Open Championship or the Ryder Cup or the Masters or the Six Nations, you know, when you're commentating on a Calcutta Cup, do you want to come up as well? Well, if you come over a bit, I'll just pull you out of position. There you go. Olive, do you want to go? Come on. Sorry, I'm just going to see look at this dynamic. Do you want to go up there? Come on. Ready to go up, Olive? Up. Oh, I see now you're just wanting more biscuits. Well, that was a pointless diversion, wasn't it? Anyway, yes, so to work on all those events, a huge thrill. I think when I was doing the opening ceremony at the Olympic Games, that's when I thought this is a real... I mean, I've done Wimbledon finals, and you're sitting on centre court. That's a thrill, because you're thinking, this is a Wimbledon final, you know, and I was commentating on Serena Williams trying to go for 24, and, you know, you're sitting on centre court, and it means... it just feels, I don't know, you do sometimes pinch yourself. Yeah, and then the Olympic opening ceremony in Rio was something I was supposed to be doing in Tokyo, and will be again next year, hopefully, is that you suddenly realize that you're in this position of real privilege to try and bring the excitement of that final or this ceremony to millions of people watching at home. You know, in the Six Nations as well, you get 10 million people watching the big games. Yeah, and if you stop to think about those people, you'd probably get slightly nervous about it, but you don't, because you've got a microphone in front of you. There's a bit of a wall between, you know, if you put those 10 million people in front of you, it'd be terrifying. But because there's a bit of detachment, even though you're trying to talk to them personally, you can't see them. So you don't worry about it too much, but you do all the time realize what a position of privilege you're in doing these events.
Mm-hmm. I was amused that when you started doing the dog videos, that some of your Twitter feed who'd followed you for the sport and for the things like your podcast.
I think they've all gone now. I think they must have gone now. All. Genuinely, yeah. There were 45,000 followers before all this nonsense, enjoyable nonsense. So they were there. I don't know what they might have been there for, but because I did very different sports, some would have been there for golf or rugby or athletics or tennis, or people who just love pictures of the mountains, because that's most of what I did. But honestly, if I tweet about dogs now, you can see the lights going out on the follower count, boo, 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 as they disappear, and you just know that one or like, I've had enough of this. I've absolutely had enough of these two Labradors. I don't care about Olive and Mabel. Just please do some golf stuff, or please do some rugby stuff. But I don't know. I enjoy tweeting about these two, because and people enjoy when I tweet about them. So there we are.
So it has been, I mean, I think that has been the interesting thing in this strange time that we've all lived through, that there is a sense in which, well, I think one of the sort of incidental findings is that people have responded much more to nature and to the idea of nature, to the idea of the natural world, sort of being in that enforced separation from it. But also that kind of sense that dogs are in some way therapeutic, that they have qualities that help people, whether they're your own dogs or somebody else's dogs.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at this. This is therapy, and everybody will know this dynamic, sitting on the sofa of an evening and just manhandling a dog, just stroking the dog, and you know, you might be doing it just idly, watching the television, but you know, you're just scratching away at. You're yawning, or you're snapping at me. No, she doesn't do that. She's getting a bit fed up with that there. Says, stop manhandling me. But as you're doing that, you are being soothed. It's relaxing. It's like a stress ball. this is just an animated stress ball here, but they get a lot out of it. It's a symbiotic relationship. She loves being stroked and tickled and touched, and so that's the connection between human and dog. It's we both get so much out of the deal, and always have. But I think part of the therapy that we've got from our dogs this year is that they have just been that bit of normality and that bit of oblivion to the wider problems of the world, because they don't have a clue about what's going on, so they just carry on being numpties and doing their silly things. And so when you see them doing that, you just think, it's a little bit of an escape from everything that's going on. When I go to walk them, I know that she'll just end up chasing something, or she'll end up rolling in something, or they'll end up playing. I can watch them and think, yes, that's the natural order of things. And what I'm looking at in the news, or what I'm coping with every day, is far from the natural order of things. So let me just escape with my dogs for a moment.
Right. And is that what you say towards the end of the book, that you feel that writing about dogs is in a sense about writing about aspects of life? Is that what you mean when you talk about that?
Yeah, I think you end up writing about life because they are our shadows with us throughout the whole thing. I mean, I take my dogs with me everywhere pretty much, and everything I do, they're there. Well, it's unfortunate that when I travel abroad to do events that I can't have them with me, but they're always just part of the background. You want more attention, she'll do this. I mean, if I stop stroking Mabel now, she'll just get that snout and put it to good use. Right? You silly. Anyway, so yeah, so I don't know, they're just so much of the furniture of life. Wherever I go, there'll be dogs, and they're just there, and they're just busying themselves around doing dog things. And so yes, you're right about doggy things, but then you find out that you're writing about a different scene from your life, or a different aspect of your life, and dogs just happen to be in that scene. They're there at work, they're there at play, and they're there, of an evening asking for more food. I'm sorry, Olive's not getting enough screen time, but that's because she's just again staring with a sort of menacing stare. Yeah. So you don't like it so much, do
Tell
you?
people about Olive and Floors. I was fascinated by Olive and Floors.
Why don't you take that for a minute then? Do you want that? Oh, interesting. This might prompt another commentary. Watch this. Sorry, what? Oh God, hang on a second. See, I've got big studio lights up here as well. I don't want them to knock those over. But that's it. That's as simple as that. Mabel just taking it, and Olive saying, "Right, fine, you can have it." If Olive really wanted it, she would keep it, but she doesn't. So Mabel's just going to curl up with it now. Oh, hang on a second. Come on then. Here we go. Here we go. Come on then. Have you come? You want to come up? You want to come up? You don't want to come. You just want a biscuit, right? She might come up though now, Olive, because the sofa's been vacated. Sorry. Yes, you were talking. What was the question there again? I got distracted by it.
Olive and Floors. I like.
Oh, it's madness. It really is madness. I don't know if anybody else out there has this issue with their dogs. I'd like to know, because Olive is such a together, composed dog and relaxed about almost everything. A couple of weird things. But Floors, if she goes into a new place and it's a hard floor, a shiny floor, a floor that she's just not used to, she'll just stop and she'll panic slightly, and she'll go, I don't know what's this? It's the floor. That's what it is, you idiot. It's just walk on the floor. And it's the floor like so many, we've got shiny floorboards here, and we've got hardwood floors through there, and she'll walk on those fine. But if those same floors were in the floor of a hotel lobby or going into a cafe, she will just say, no, this is not happening. And it's awful. I've had to just carry her into places, and it looks like you are, I don't know, you mistreat your dog, or your dog's a psychopath, which she is a little bit, but it's created some very awkward situations.
Yeah, it must have. And does Mabel have any very peculiar habits as well?
Yes, many of them. She is slightly she's slightly too clingy. Not too clingy, I love it, but she is probably slightly too clingy, Mabel. Her peculiar habits are just the clinginess. She will just wander around. If you're not touching her, she'll say, why are you not touching me at this very moment? The only reason she's not doing it just now is because she's falling asleep again. So Mabel has two states, asleep and clingy. And she just sort of goes between the two, veers between the two of them. She has a few issues, Mabel, but not too many.
And do they miss you when you're away?
Oh, enormously, yeah. Well, actually, no. It looks as if they miss me enormously when I come back, because the welcome's so so ridiculously over the top. But I think after a few hours, they just get on with things, because that's what dogs do, don't they? They just say, right, what is the situation at the moment? Right, I want some food. It doesn't matter that guy's gone. In fact, they wouldn't even say that. They wouldn't even remember who that guy was. It's just all about what is in front of them at that moment. It's all about the here and now for dogs.
Do you think when you start to go back, as sport starts to come back and you start to go back to your normal life, will you keep going with Olive and Mabel, or will they miss you more? What do you think will happen?
I don't know. I'll miss them more. I think they probably will miss me more initially, because we've all been institutionalized in this, haven't we? In terms of, the idea for all of us. Can you imagine being on a crowded tube, or I mean, some of you out there will have done air travel during this. I haven't been on a plane since February for January. And I used to be on a plane twice a week. And so the idea of going through an airport and getting on a plane, or being in just being in any crowded space, it seems so strange now. But again, we'll quickly adapt once it goes back, and it'll seem like the normal thing again after, a month or so. But I think they're definitely more clingy, both of them at the moment. If I go away for 2 minutes, it's as if I've gone to Tierra del Fuego and come back. So.
Let me go now. Andrew, it's been very nice to talk to you. I don't know quite how the structure of this works, so whether I'll be able to come back in. But I know that Lindsay is going to come in, I think, fairly soon and ask some questions that we've been being sent.
Oh, lovely.
Great, thank you so much both. There's quite a few questions. I'm going to try and amalgamate them all into sort of a few.
Well, you can ask as many as you want. I'll rattle through them reasonably quickly, rather than to do my sort of normal rambling.
Some of them have been answered. So the first one, did you get Olive first and then decide to get Mabel, or how did it happen? And why did you decide on 2 dogs?
Well, Olive first, yeah, absolutely. Olive has just turned 8 and Mabel is about to turn 4. So 4 years after getting Olive, we thought, there are the 2 reasons. One is the sort of succession plan, which is a rather cool way of looking at it. And Olive's looking at me squinting, going, succession plan? What do you mean? What? I'm not going anywhere. And then also because it's nice, they're pack animals. It's nice for them to have some company, some doggy company, rather than just be with humans all the time. So that was the reason for that. But yeah, so Mabel second, and went for a Labrador again.
And I love this question. So Andrew's vocabulary is massive and exquisite. How did you develop such a wide range of words?
I don't know. What does exquisite mean? I don't know. No, I don't read as much as I should. I think that's where a large vocabulary comes from. But I'm not quite as well read as we've got a huge number of books here, and I've sat there and tried to read the classics. I remember my dad had a big library of books, and he had all the classics, and say, right, I'm going to go and read Crime and Punishment, and you get 2 pages and you go, I can't be bothered. This is just I just go, well, I'm a television person. I always have been, but television doesn't have to be a lower art form than literature. It's you get some wonderfully creative works on television that, I don't know, we look at television and say it's this thing which enslaves us in the corner of our room, but the things you can watch on television, the dramas you can watch, the comedy you can watch, as much as film or as much as a good book, I think a lot of that. So Olive's whining at the door. She's using her very limited vocabulary at the moment. It's just whining basically to get out. So I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to summon some more biscuits for her if we want her to stay. And I think we do want her to stay.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to?
No, I'm going to do it. It's like ringing a little bell. I'm going to message my partner and say, could you bring more biscuits? Hang on a second. This is terrible. You ask the next question while I'm doing this.
What do your sportcasting colleagues think of your sideline? Do they tease you, or are they?
Yes, they do. Yes, very much so. Here comes the dog guy. They were barking at me in the first sporting event I went back to after sort of 8 months off. So yes, there's a lot of that, but there's also been a lot of nice comments from them as well. Because they've all right, just settle down. We're not going anywhere. You've had your tea, and you've been out for a walk. So yes, they do tease me. But I love that Mabel at the moment is doing the head cock thing. If I say you've had your tea, and we're not going out just now, as she tries to understand things. So yeah, there we go. Yes, a lot of teasing about it, but there we are. I think they'd quite like to have done it as well.
And one question which I love is, do Olive and Mabel Skype or FaceTime you when you're away?
I have FaceTimed Olive and Mabel, absolutely, yeah. So they didn't instigate the call. I certainly started it, and I have done, but they just don't get it at all, because they just don't. They do things by smell as much as anything else. So unless I instruct Caroline to douse the iPad, and I don't know what I was going to say there. Douse it in scent of Andrew, canine, eau de canine. Yeah. So no, I don't know. They don't do FaceTime. They don't recognise it at all, and they just get frustrated and wander off.
Fair enough. And obviously you've had 60 million people view your Game of Bones, and has your international reach meant that you're now being offered different sports commentary opportunities internationally, or any other opportunities elsewhere?
No, as I mentioned, there have been lots of different commentaries, and there were I mean, a couple of those, well, quite a few of those advertising opportunities came in from the United States. And the I suppose the oddest ones were well, not the oddest ones, because the odd ones were commentating on yogurt having a race, which I didn't quite understand, but commentating on video games as well, which I mentioned briefly in the book. In that, but commentating on a game called Overwatch. Some people might know it out there. I didn't know, but it's a bit like Call of Duty again. Some people might know that one, but anyway, it's just people just blowing the living daylights out of each other, and I was to commentate on that, and I couldn't quite come to terms with. They wanted a sort of lay person to commentate on it, someone who wasn't a massive gamer, which I was in my teenage years in the 80s, but not anymore. So I quickly passed on that. Yeah, there have been some odd offers for many things.
And so, moving away from Olive and Mabel, just for one question, when commentating, are you listening to the director as well? How do you deal with that? And what?
Yeah, I think it's the hardest part of commentary. So if you're commentating on radio, you have something called switch talkback, which is where the producer in the studio would, if they have an instruction. So if you're listening to 5 Live doing the football on a Saturday afternoon, for example, they're very good at going through. So they'll be commentating on, I don't know, Liverpool against Spurs, but they're getting results and updates coming in from all other grounds. So they'd be commentating, chatting away, and in your ear you'd have, okay, we're going to Wolves against Bournemouth now, and John Southall's there. So you're listening to all that, and then you queue up, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's head quickly to Wolves against Bournemouth. John Southall's got an update. And so that goes on. But there's far less talkback on radio than there is in television. Television, I'll have 3 voices chatting away in my ears all the time. And it's that's open talkback, it's called. And it can be very, very, very distracting, but you just sort of filter it out. Then you've just got to sort of listen for instructions that are pertinent to you, that a good director or producer will obviously be keying to you and saying, okay, Andrew, we're going to do this now, do this promo now on screen. Okay, this is the update on the table as it stands, or whatever it might be. And athletics is actually probably the worst for talk back in terms of to cope with, because you've got the editor and you've got the producer or director as well, and you're going to field events, and so it's when you're watching somebody commentating on sport, please understand that sometimes if they get things wrong, there is a reason beyond them being just totally incompetent, as I am on occasion. It's about the fact that you might have someone, sometimes you might have commentators who aren't. Sometimes you get people in all aspects of, why are you wagging your tail in my face? I don't know. Oh, this is all his weakness. This is her kryptonite here. Hang on a second. I'm just going to show you this. Just getting a scratch at the tail base. She goes absolutely mad for it. She doesn't quite know what to do. What is it? I'm talking to people at the moment. Not anyway, and then she likes to go under legs and create a bit of all right. Anyway, so I was talking about, you can't go over there because you're trapped. You have to come back. Come on, under here, quick. Olive, out. Oh God, the microphone's going to go. Good little interlude, Olive interlude. So yes, if you got a director as well who is shouting a lot, that's not a good thing, and that might be putting you off. But listen, I'm sure a lot of commentators put off the viewers.
And then just moving back to Olive and Mabel, someone's asked, our 4 whippets would like to know what kind of biscuit Olive and Mabel prefer, meaty or fishy?
Oh God, I mean, the only food they have is dry food, is kibble, but They do. We're ridiculous because we'll get them, occasionally these lavender and chamomile goodnight biscuits. What's that for? They don't care. They don't even taste them, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, we're suckers, as most people who love dogs are. We're suckers. We'll go in. That's the industry to get into, making high-end dog biscuits that cost about £50 a piece. And because we'll buy any, it's just because we're these are good for their joints. Yes, we'll get these. Lavender and chamomile treats because they'll make a huge difference. Sorry, that's Olive pushing the camera. Oh God! No, we'll stay there. Choose a place to sit. I know you're getting a little bit bored with it, but I haven't got anything more. Oh God! Hang on a second. She is going to knock the laptop off. Yes, sorry. So they're fair. I mean, their go-to ones are the little gravy bones. I think they're called biscroc, but they're just gravy bones, I think we call them. So they're the go-to, and they love a denti stick. I was told by some people that denti sticks aren't good for dogs, but then Caroline's cousin is a vet, and she says they're absolutely fine. So they love a denti stick of a morning, mid-morning. Right, just settle down now. You're actually being quite annoying now. You are. It's just a fact. Sorry, yes.
If we move on to the next question, which sporting event do you consider the best event to commentate on?
Look, rugby and athletics are enjoyable because they're high-paced and you've got the drama and the noise of the crowd to feed off, whereas something like golf would be more slower-paced. So it's very enjoyable, but I don't think it has quite the excitement of a great race at the Olympics or a great match in the Six Nations or a World Cup. So I do enjoy those. And then, tennis is very, very different. It's very fiddly commentary tennis. You've just got to nip in between points and come up with something. It's just a little expression, and then it's change of ends commentary as much as anything else. So it's more a sort of a game of chess, the commentary on tennis. Well done. You've worked out how to get out. So yeah, I think I'd probably enjoy doing a really dramatic rugby match in front of 80,000 people, or commentating in a great race at the Olympics.
And how do you relax away from commentating apart from dog time? And do you have a favourite Scottish mountain?
Favourite Scottish mountain? This would be quite geeky Scottish mountaineering for people who know Scottish mountains. Sorry, downtime. I run and I cycle. I need exercise to keep the demons at bay. Basically, I just if I'm not exercising, I'm not happy. So anything, but in terms of getting to the mountains, I mean, the further west you go in Scotland, the pointier mountains become. So I love the mountains. I mean, the mountains of Skye are dramatic and exciting, and Sarah talked about the sort of dangerous feeling in the mountains that you sometimes get that when you're climbing in Skye. But there are so many. I would say Buccleuch of Moor is a favourite, just at the mouth of Glencoe. And Chalach, which I mentioned in the book, is very, very special and dramatic. When we were up there in Hogmanay on New Year's Eve last year, that was quite something. So there are too many. I like the big mountains of the Cairngorms as well, under snow, like Bray Reich and Carnchow and Scotland Lochanou and actually Ben Nevis as well. If you go up the right way up Ben Nevis, if you go up the north side, ignore the tourist track up most mountains, take the road less travelled, and you got via Carnmore Jerrig and the CMD Arret, and that's good fun.
Some of those words, those mountains.
It's just Gaelic. Gaelic is, but Gaelic is not all I speak. So it's just all about learning it from the mountains. That's the only Gaelic I speak.
Fair enough. And then one question is: do Olive and Mabel really listen to T-Pow, and what other music?
You're showing your age there, Lindsay. You're too young. You're too young. T-Pow had a massive hit in the 80s. China in Your Hand. China in His Hand. China in Your Hand.
That one.
In your hand. Yeah. So that's a question. I can see that's a question from Chris. That's a question based on the documentary I made, which was suggesting that the voice in the first video, The Dog's Breakfast, was Carol Decker from T-Pow, which obviously it wasn't. But yeah, they don't listen to T-Pow. No. I don't know who they would listen to. Bow Wow Wow. I don't. That's bad. I don't know. No. So that voice in that first video, incidentally, was Caroline, my other half. So, and she was just as frustrated as she sounded at that time. She wasn't acting.
Is it time for a puppy?
It's getting close to it. It's getting close to it. You can't see, there are lots of boxes around here. We're packing up. We're moving house next week. So it's actually quite an emotional thing, and I'll probably end up making a video about it. But because we're leaving the house where the only house they've known, the only kennel they've known, everything they know is this house. And I get more emotional thinking about them leaving this house than I do, because I think I wonder, are they going to be thinking, where's my house, where's my bed, where's my home? But of course, again, they just adjust, and they'll think, as long as I'm with my people and with, as long as I'm comfortable and warm, I love being in this new house, and they'll forget about this old house. But everything I've filmed has been in and around here. I'm sitting beside where I filmed the online dating one, or I filmed all of this part of the Zoom call just here. So it's going to be strange. The Game of Bones was through there, and in the back garden was the dog's breakfast, and I sat on the sofa to do the links for the documentary. So I don't know if the people moving in know what they're coming into, but I'll be very sad to leave this place. But we're moving to a slightly bigger place, and so it almost cries out for another dog to join the cast. God, can you imagine? Imagine trying to organise 3 of them when you want to make a video. I mean, it's just nonsense. So anyway, but yes, it's getting close to that time, I think.
And another question related to that is, will it be a Labrador, or will you branch out?
I don't know. I'd quite like to branch out, but what kind of dog? It's got to be mountain ready, and spaniels are just mad. So I don't know. Anyway, that's we'll have to think about that.
And I'm just going to take 2 more questions. So how many Monroes have you climbed, and will you eventually climb them all?
God, we've got some climbing people out there. I'm not really a Monroe bagger at all. I've done, again, I think I've done about 100. It might be 98 or so, 90 something in the 90s. But I'm not a Monroe bagger. And if I lived in Scotland, I probably would have done them all by now. But it's a long schlep to get there, and especially because it sort of radiates out the ones I've done from Troon in the southwest of Scotland, because that's when I started going into the hills. So they're just getting further and further away. And so now I've got to be going up to the far north of Scotland to do most of the ones I haven't done. And it's a long, long way. And I'm not really a Monroe bagger. I think I will eventually do them all, but it's a lifetime thing. So I just like mountains which are fun and dramatic. You get some great hills and mountains in Scotland which are not Monroes, not 3,000 feet and over. So yeah, I probably will do them. That sounds like the person asking that has done all 282 and is saying, come on, get with it. I will eventually, but sadly these dogs won't. But again, as I mentioned in the book, dogs have done all 282 of them.
And then finally, I love this question. Does the new house have hardwood floors?
No, because Olive insisted that it doesn't. It's just it's a deep shag pile carpet throughout, so it's nice and gentle on her part. It's like she's walking on clouds. There we go. So we've done swimming, climbing, and walking on shag pile carpets. This has been a sort of an online session of partial mime, dog mime. That's an idea for a video. Yeah. So Marcel Marceau dog. Anyway, sorry, I'm just thinking aloud here. Right. Yeah, so that's it. No, it will. I think it does have hardwood floor somewhere, but she'll just have to get used to it. So that's just the way things are.
Fantastic. Sarah, did you have a final question, or are we?
No, really. Well, do you think, well, I suppose, Andrea, it's really the question, will you go on? Do you think you'll carry on having the second life?
I think I'd like to. Yeah, I'd like to. If I think of a good idea, then I'm going to do that. But I'm not going to say, right, I've got to do one every 2 weeks or so. But you're right, it'll be a parallel universe, sort of, where I'm doing the broadcasting and living a normal life, but also we all have these alter egos. I'll have this alter ego of the person in the videos with these 2 dogs, when I'm talking to them. So yes, I probably will, but only if I can think of a good idea. I thought of a couple of great ideas recently, and it's difficult because sometimes they're just not possible to do for whatever reason, rights reasons. It's one of those fascinating things has been the whole, I mean, I knew about it, but if you're allowed to use certain things in a video because they belong to other people. Yeah. In fact, just the other day on YouTube. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here. A couple of weeks ago on on Twitter, a White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Dan Scavino Jr., used the Game of Bones video, but used it as some sort of allegory for Mabel was Donald Trump and Olive was Joe Biden, and Olive was over celebrating with the bone, and Mabel stroke Trump would get the victory in the end. And I hated that because, you know, first of all, it's not my politics, but also I didn't want politics at all to be part of the Olive and Mabel thing. But he used it, and then James Woods, who's you know, certainly a right-wing leaning actor, a very famous actor, you know, he retweeted it, and so I then started getting followed by all these right-wing, you know, these Republicans from America, and they were all, you know, saying things like, yeah, Olive and Mabel and these two dogs show the way it is. I was half-heartedly doing an American accent there, and then the other day somebody of that crowd put up the Game of Bones video on YouTube, and I had quite a few instances of people. YouTube is the Wild West. People just steal your content. And it's quite a serious thing, because if you've thought about something and made something and taken a lot of time and effort to make it and done it all properly, and if I ever use music in one of the videos, which has only happened twice, for example, that perfume ad which I made last week, I had to buy the music to use, and you buy it the correct license for use in social media and beyond. You do things properly. Other people on YouTube just take your videos. If they see something that's being successful, they'll take it because they want to get views on their own channel. And this guy took the did a Dan Scavino tweet about this thing, and so I got the video removed, or I got a sort of intent to remove the video, because I don't want these dogs to be used for that anyway. And also, I don't like people stealing other people's content. Well, the abusive emails we got after that, so really quite unpleasant stuff. So the whole thing has been an eye-opener into the world of the internet and content making and content appropriation. So when I do make videos, it's always with that in mind as well, that you've got to do things properly. And bless them, they have no idea what's going on, and I think it's better to be that way.
I noticed, well, I hope you do keep going, Andrew. I noticed one of the comments that came up said it's one of the few things that's keeping him sort of happy and sane. And I think they have been a sort of therapeutic delight at this time.
And that means a lot. It really does when people say that, because again, I can be quite a cold, cynical person. But this whole thing, the affection that's come in for the videos and for the dogs has melted me a little bit, you know, because it really does. There have been any number of people contacting in quite serious situations, whether it's with a work or with illness. There were a couple that were illnesses of family members, and they said that watching the videos had meant a huge amount to them. And you don't want to go on about that. You're even reluctant to raise it for fear of sort of virtue signaling, saying, look what we're doing, we're healing the world and spreading this joy. But it really does mean a huge amount when you see people contacting you and they're saying that, this has been a horrible time for this reason, and these silly dogs and these strange videos have made me laugh. I honestly, it really does affect you a bit.
They definitely have, and the book's lovely too. So.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, I've been quite encouraged by the reviews, but from a couple specifically saying that I wasn't sure if I was going to buy the book because I loved the videos but didn't see how that humour could translate. And I would hope that, there's a little bit of sadness in there, as there is in anybody who owns a dog knows about that. But above all, I think there's some humour in there, and the humour transfers from the videos a different type of humour.
Thank you. I think that's we're running a little bit over now, so I'm going to have to.
Well, that's fine. Listen, I can't end on me. Nobody wants to see me again, so there we are. I'm sorry they haven't been more lively, but can you imagine what it's going to be for this American online event at 10 o'clock tonight, UK time? So I'm going to have to, I don't know, give them some sort of uppers before we go on. I would stress people, I do not give my dogs drugs, so just small doses of caffeine maybe just before we go on. So lace their biscuits with caffeine.
So I'm just going to do a few really quick thank yous. So thank you to Andrew and Sarah for being part of this event. And I've definitely decided that I have room for a Jack Russell and 2 Labradors in my house. I'm not sure my husband would agree. And thank you to Cheryl at Chorleywood for making this happen. And thank you to the audience for being here. It's a truly global event, I think, from people all across the world. And it's just testament to what dogs can do to to bring people together. And if you haven't got a copy of Olive, Mabel and Me, then we still have some available at Village Books and Chorleywood Bookshop. So do give us a call if you would like a copy, and keep an eye on our events page, as we've got lots of events coming up in the new year. And that's it for me. So thank you so much to Sarah and Andrew and Olive and Mabel, of course, and Puzzle for that brief.
And Puzzle has gone to sleep completely.
And we'll see you all very soon. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry, everyone. That was ending on a massive Mabel snoot shot, but there we go. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.